30,000 German submariners never came home. Your iron coffins ranged from 40-meter coastal boats to 87-meter ocean giants. This is the complete fleet, every German submarine type that prowled beneath the waves in World War II. Type I, early designs. The Type I U-boat represented Germany's initial attempt to rebuild its submarine fleet following the World War I restrictions imposed by the Treaty of Versailles. Based heavily on the design principles of the UB-3 class from the First World War, only two Type I submarines were constructed. U-25 and U-26, both commissioned in 1936. These vessels served primarily as transitional designs and testing platforms for future U-boat developments. Displacing approximately 862 tons surfaced and 983 tons submerged, they were armed with 6 torpedo tubes and one 10.5-centimeter deck gun for surface engagements. The Type I boats measured approximately 72.4 meters in length and could achieve speeds of 17.8 knots surfaced and 8.3 knots submerged. Despite their operational capabilities, these submarines were quickly deemed obsolete as newer, more effective designs emerged. Both vessels saw limited active service in the early war years between 1939 and 1940, primarily conducting training operations and coastal patrols in the North Sea regions before being relegated to training duties. Type II, Einbaum, small coastal submarines. The Type II U-boat, affectionately nicknamed Einbaum, meaning dugout canoe, by crews due to its remarkably compact size, served as Germany's primary coastal submarine during the early war years from 1935 to 1944. Cleverly derived from the Finnish Vesico design to circumvent Treaty of Versailles restrictions, these diminutive submarines displace only 250 to 300 tons depending on the variant. Multiple improved versions were produced including 2A, 2B, 2C, and 2D with progressive enhancements between each model. Armed with 3 torpedo tubes, 2 bow, 1 stern, and typically a 2-centimeter anti-aircraft gun, Type II boats measured approximately 40 to 44 meters in length, depending on variant. They could achieve respectable speeds of 13 knots surfaced and 7 knots submerged. Despite their limited range of approximately 3,000 to 6,000 nautical miles and modest firepower, Type II submarines proved invaluable for training new crews, coastal defense operations, and short-range patrols in the North Sea, Baltic Sea, and English Channel, where their small size was advantageous. Type VII, backbone of the U-boat fleet. The Type VII U-boat became the undisputed workhorse and most iconic submarine of the German Kriegsmarine, with over 700 boats commissioned across multiple variants 7A, 7B, 7C, 7C41, 7D, and 7F between 1936 and 1945. This medium-sized design represented the perfect balance of combat effectiveness, operational range, production efficiency, and crew habitability. Measuring approximately 67 meters in length with displacement around 760 to 870 tons submerged, Type VII U-boats carried 14 torpedoes for their 5 torpedo tubes, 4 bow, 1 stern, and initially mounted an 8.8-centimeter deck gun. These submarines could achieve 17 knots surfaced and 7.6 knots submerged, with operational range of 8,500 to 9,700 nautical miles, depending on variant. The Type VII-C alone accounted for 568 boats, making it the most produced submarine class in history. Type VII U-boats formed the backbone of the feared Wolfpack tactics that devastated Allied convoys during 1940 to 1943, operating in every theater from the Arctic to the Caribbean, Mediterranean, and South Atlantic. Type IX long-range ocean patrol boats. The Type IX U-boat series represented Germany's ocean-going long-range submarine force, designed specifically for extended patrols in distant waters far from European bases. Significantly larger than the ubiquitous Type VII, these submarines measured 76 to 87 meters depending on variant, I-9, I-9B, I-9C, I-9C40, I-9D, with displacement ranging from 1,032 to 1,799 tons submerged. Armed with 6 torpedo tubes carrying 24 torpedoes plus a 10.5-centimeter deck gun, they packed substantial offensive capability. Most importantly, Type IX boats achieved operational ranges between 11,000 and 23,700 nautical miles, enabling patrols lasting 3 to 6 months in the South Atlantic, Caribbean, Indian Ocean, and even Pacific waters. Approximately 200 Type IX submarines were commissioned between 1938 and 1944. These boats conducted devastating raids against isolated merchant shipping off the American coast during Operation Drumbeat, 1942, around South Africa and in the Indian Ocean. Their extended range allowed them to operate in areas where Allied defenses were initially weak, though increasing Allied air coverage eventually made even distant patrol areas hazardous. Type 14 Milchau supply submarines. The Type 14, universally known by its nickname Milchau, represented a revolutionary concept in submarine warfare. Dedicated supply submarines designed exclusively to extend the operational reach and patrol duration of attack U-boats. 10 Type 14 boats were commissioned between 1941 and 1942, measuring 67.1 meters with a substantial displacement of 1,688 tons surfaced and 1,932 tons submerged. Uniquely, these submarines carried no torpedo armament whatsoever. instead dedicating every available cubic meter to fuel oil, 432 tons transferable, spare torpedoes 4, provisions, spare parts, and even medical facilities. Type 14 submarines could resupply multiple attack U-boats during a single patrol, potentially doubling or tripling their time on station in distant operational areas. They typically operated in designated mid-Atlantic rendezvous zones, meeting attack boats at predetermined coordinates. However, their large size, predictable operational patterns, and critical importance made them priority targets for Allied anti-submarine forces. Tragically, all 10 Type 14 submarines were hunted down and sunk by 1944, devastating Germany's distant patrol capabilities. Type XXI Elektroboot Advanced Revolutionary Design. The Type XXI Elektroboot represented the most revolutionary submarine design of World War II, a vessel so advanced it influenced all post-war submarine development worldwide. Commissioned from 1944 onwards with 118 boats entering service, though few became fully operational, these submarines incorporated radical innovations that rendered previous designs obsolete. Measuring 76.7 meters with displacement of 1,621 tons surfaced and 1,819 tons submerged, the Type XXI featured a revolutionary streamlined hull optimized for underwater performance, massive battery capacity enabling sustained submerged operations, hydraulic torpedo reload systems, and snorkel technology. Most remarkably, the Type XXI could achieve 17.2 knots submerged, faster than most Allied surface escorts, and remain armed with 6 bow torpedo tubes with 23 torpedoes featuring rapid 20-minute reload capability. They could dive to 280 meters and incorporated advanced sonar and fire control systems. However, rushed mass production created severe reliability issues, inadequate crew training plagued operations, and they arrived too late to impact the war's outcome meaningfully. Type 23 Elektroboot Coastal Electric Submarine. The Type 23 represented the smaller coastal variant of Germany's revolutionary Elektroboot concept, applying advanced electric propulsion technology to a compact submarine design suitable for shallow waters and coastal operations. 61 boats were commissioned between 1944 and 1945, though only a handful became operational before war's end. These remarkably compact submarines measured only 34.7 meters in length with displacement of merely 232 tons surfaced and 256 tons submerged, yet incorporated the same advanced battery technology and streamlined hull design as their larger Type 21 cousins. Despite diminutive size, Type 23 boats could achieve an impressive 9.7 knots submerged and remain underwater for extended periods using revolutionary snorkel systems. Armed with only 2 bow torpedo tubes carrying 2 torpedoes, no reload capability, their firepower was intentionally limited to reduce size. 6 Type 23 submarines conducted successful combat patrols in British coastal waters during the war's final chaotic months in 1945, sinking 9 Allied vessels without suffering a single loss, demonstrating the design's effectiveness and validating the Elektroboot concept completely. Type 17 Experimental Walter Turbine Submarine. The Type 17 represented Germany's audacious experimental venture into hydrogen peroxide, a radical technology that promised to revolutionize submarine warfare by enabling sustained high-speed underwater operation impossible with conventional electric motors. 3 boats were constructed as testbeds between 1943 and 1945 in 2 variants, 17A and 17B, measuring approximately 40 meters with displacement around 312 tons. The Walter turbine system utilized highly concentrated hydrogen peroxide decomposition in a catalyst chamber to generate superheated steam driving turbines, theoretically enabling sustained submerged speeds exceeding 25 knots, fast enough to outrun any surface warship. This revolutionary concept promised to render existing anti-submarine warfare tactics completely obsolete. However, the technology proved extraordinarily dangerous and unreliable in practice. Hydrogen peroxide's extreme chemical instability caused numerous explosions, fires, and casualties during testing. Fuel consumption was astronomical, limiting operational range to impractical levels. None of the Type 17 boats conducted actual combat operations, serving exclusively as experimental platforms that ultimately validated the concept's fundamental impracticality for operational submarine service. From U-1 to U-4712, Germany constructed 1,156 submarines across 8 revolutionary types. 784 never returned home, iron coffins claiming 30,000 lives beneath the waves. Famous boats like U-47, U-96, and U-505 wrote history, while experimental U-2540 pointed toward the future. This was Germany's complete underwater fleet, the submarines that nearly won the Atlantic, changed naval warfare forever, and left a legacy still influencing submarine design today.